Coding is great. It's really fun for developers like myself, and it can take you to lots of places, and you have a huge scope when you get into code. But it's really expensive. It's really expensive in money. It's really expensive in time, and it's really expensive in skills, because the learning curve to start developing something, it's quite huge, So to create a good product, you will need lots of hours of training or of understanding and practicing different types of codes. And especially if you want to make a platform that it's a front end and a back end. And please let me know if I'm getting too technical on some things or something that you don't know. But those kind of platforms takes lots of time. In my last 3 years, I've been working in a no-code platform that we build that it's called Blip. That it helps this problem, right? To create things without code. So I got pretty familiar with all the different kind of tools, and that's why I want to share with you guys. For me, my goal here is for you to get a better understanding. For sure, you're not gonna learn how to use a tool here, but to get a better understanding on how you can create things and build things in a really, really easy way yourself or with your teams, without like huge and really expensive developers or full stack developers or any kind of complex developers. Okay, so yeah, first of all, we move ahead. This is just a little summary, as I told you. I already told you about my work background, but the most important thing maybe is that I'm crazy about these digital tools and innovation. So if you want, we can go ahead with what is no code. Sorry, if anyone wants to interrupt me, please go ahead. I love being interrupted, since we can solve some doubts. So in case you may be wondering what is no code, I'm pretty sure you already heard about the concept of no code. As the name says, no code is creating things without coding. But there's a trick in there, because it says no code, but in fact, it's true that you don't need code, but you will need some technical skills, which usually most of people that get into this kind of solutions, they don't have them, and they try to overpass this wall that they need to do things without technical skills, and they get stuck. And then we have a pretty similar concept that it's called low code. That maybe you heard about that one. That is similar as no code, but in this case, the platforms is like they open a little window for you, so you can enter the code and make the scope even more broad. So if we go to since now ChatGPT is the trendy thing, if we go to the definition according to this AI agent, we say that no code refers to the use of software tools and platforms to allow users to create applications. Yeah, that is absolutely true. But again, without having code or without having to write code doesn't mean that we don't need technical skills. If we have no idea of how to use several or different kind of software tools, or we don't know about the concepts of programming, we'll probably get stuck when trying to use this kind of platforms. I'm pretty sure most of you already used a couple of tools, a couple of no-code tools without even knowing. So let me show you in this chart that is quite big, and it's probably not big enough because it's full of different kind of tools. How big the no-code environment is, and how I can get specialized in different topics, right? So I'm pretty sure most of you here know what it's, for example, HubSpot, or what it's maybe Notion or Loom. They are, or for sure Shopify. Those are pretty good examples of what it's a no-code tool that, in a really simple way to explain it, is they are softwares where you can program things without having to write code. So if you may create a workflow where when it happens something, it shoots other thing or it triggers other things, you will be programming without code. That's a really, really simple explanation of what it's a no-code tool. But of course, it can get way more complicated or way more simple. For me, a really simple platform that you may heard about it's Zapier. It's a tool to automate workflows. You can find it there on the bottom right where it says workflow automations. And with Zapier, you can create a whole bunch of different things with different integrations with other platforms. So for example, a normal use case could be if you receive an email or if you add a row into a spreadsheet, you can trigger some other thing like to shoot an email or to update a database or to create a card in Notion or in Asana or in some other tool. If this sounds like really simple, of course it can get way more complex. And if we think about how hard it would be to create this in code, you can't even imagine how much time you're saving using these kind of tools. To give you an average, the cost of the hour of development of a freelancer of an agency, usually it's between $40 and $50, and so you can, and the subscription of these tools usually it's below 20, so you can get an image or an understanding of how cheap it is to use wisely these kind of tools and how hard. Yes, sorry.
Thomas, a question. So, I mean, I think given the fact that most of us have literally zero knowledge of coding, so I mean, if I said to you that, look, I have a website where we have millions of users and we collect a lot of data on typically a Google Analytics or whichever database system, and I really wanted to use machine learning to figure out, or AI or machine learning to figure out what's happening. Just help me, like, would I need to know anything about coding, or will I be able to use one of these tools from machine learning box and just say, hey, I would like to know something, and then is that how it works? Just like help demystify, please.
Yeah, that's perfect. That's a great question, and I think it's one of the most typical implementations, right? Well, there's not one answer for that, but you will need to understand what you want to achieve, right? You will need to understand how you will connect those things, but it's not as complex as it sounds. But it's like we just said, like, okay, I want to connect the data that is in this database or in this service. I want to connect it to this other service, and I will find and I want to process that and get an output for that. So you will look for an AI service to get that information or to solve that problem. So in that case, the most important thing is to organize all this workflow in your mind, right? After that, you can implement it. Of course, if you know zero about not coding, but about how systems work, it will be a bit harder. But for sure, you will have someone in your team that it's maybe more tech savvy or they understand a bit more, and it will be way easier for them to implement these kind of things. And no questions made that if you go to a developer, for sure they will understand this kind of tools. So I have a pretty similar example that I wrote as one of the main the examples in the presentation, that it's pretty similar to the one you mentioned. So just to give a better understanding, the benefits here are money, time, and skills, right? It's pretty much the three big pains that you find when you want to implement code. So it costs a lot, it takes a lot of time. So the implementation that we just mentioned, that we between Gmail and a spreadsheet or email client, it could take not less than 2 weeks for sure for a senior developer. And with this kind of services, it takes you one morning as the most. and you are bug free because it's super tested, and you can be confident that it will work properly. And the last one, well, as we already said, are the technical skills. So you don't need any kind of complex technical skills. So going straight into when to not code, there it goes. How can we validate with no code? Well, this is a great example of how to validate an idea. Then we're going to jump into how to validate maybe a new business or a new business idea. This is more focused on startups or on new projects that you want to validate as something. I don't know. We work with a lot of entrepreneurs. I am quite a curious developer, entrepreneur myself, so this works a lot on me. Because when I have an idea, a couple of years ago, my first solution was go straight into coding, right? Straight into coding, and to have a really robust code to deploy and to launch, and feel free, and to be sure that the users will use it without problem and with the best UX and the best UI. A really, really expensive and robust code. But now, with the different kind of services and tools that we have, and that they are getting way, way better year after year, we can go straight into launch a landing page. We can build this in a really, really, really simple way with one of those tools like Wix, Squarespace, or some other tools that it's full of tools to create landing pages. They are also optimized for you, so you can you can promote them, and they are easily integrated with analytics and with Google Ads and Facebook Ads. So you can do this in a really, really simple way. So your only focus goes into what you are trying to validate. So here some tips are to communicate the business, not what you intend to do, and to communicate as you already have your product finished. So if you want to validate, I don't know, let's say you want to do like an Airbnb for students, you just go create a landing page and you communicate it as it's already working and you already have users. After that landing page, you can show a message telling your users that the platform is not ready, and and they can join a wait list. But the important here is to validate that you have something that people want, instead of going straight into coding. The second step will be to actually build this first tool, this MVP that will take you from 0 to 1, and to validate that your solution, it solves the problem. So in the first step, you will verify if there's a problem. In this second step, you will verify if your solution solves that problem. Here you can go with more complex no-code tools like Bubble, Adalo, or Webflow even, that they are more complex tools for non-skilled users. So if you go to one of those tools right now, you will find that they are quite complex. So again, it will take you some time, not as much as coding for sure, but it will take you maybe a couple of days to understand better how to build something in these kind of platforms. But you can always get some help of the technical guy in the team, or to give it to the handy one. Here again, the key tips to build any kind of MVP is to define a scope. What is the problem that you're trying to solve? The recommendation is not to take more than a week. It could take you more. It could take you even a month. But if you want to validate something fast, the recommendation is to do it really, really, really fast and really, really small. The good thing with these kind of no-code tools is that you will put the focus on what matters. So if you want to validate the audience, for example, going back again to the example of the Airbnb for students, your focus will be that an existing product helps other kind of target. So in this case, you will replicate something that it's already made. It's full of templates out there. So you will be able to get one of these templates, customize it as you want, put your logo, put your wording, set everything as you want it, and start validating from first month of your idea. Yes.
So Thomas, can I ask a question? So I
Sure.
think what you're essentially saying is that if I am a businessman with no knowledge of coding, I may find it hard to build an MVP myself. I may need to use a technical resource to build it, but this is more of a 1 week job for somebody rather than 6 months of development to come up with something which is just to test out my idea. Is that's a better conclusion than to say I as a businessman can just go into Bubble or a Dalo and just build something of my own, right?
Absolutely. Yeah, absolutely. We we studied a lot how entrepreneurs and our clients come to us, and we studied a lot since we built this no-code tool. How was the user journey of starting an idea and to validate a business? Before, when entrepreneurs try to create something and they go straight into code, usually the journey is to have this idea and start trying to associate or to give equity to some team of developers or some friend that is a developer, and they start building everything in code. And maybe they have just an idea that they really want to. I mean, I'm an entrepreneur myself, and I know what it's to get in love with an idea and to go straight into market to validate it. But it usually takes at least 3 or 4 months if you go into code just to validate something, just to validate again just to validate a different twist on one kind of product. Like, for example, the Airbnb for students, the platform will be absolutely the same. You will have some different filters, you will change some wording, but the main platform, I mean, the 90% of the platform will be exactly the same as it is an Airbnb, like the popular product, right? I don't know if that answers your question or. Well, okay.
Yeah, I mean, no, it sort of does. And also, like nowadays with AI, can I not go to ChatGPT and say, create a Airbnb-like tool for me, which is for students? Is it possible?
Well, not yet, not yet. We are quite getting into AI. We are investing a lot in research and understanding how it's the scope of AI. My predictions is that it's going to be possible in no, not far away. I mean, it's going really fast at the moment. AI agents work like really good, but they can only give bunches of code. It's hard to integrate them, and for sure you need a lot of understanding. The thing is, usually in this kind of products, you don't just need code. You need servers, you need the cloud services, you need to integrate them all together, you need scalability. So in these cases, these kind of tools like Babel, Adalo, Webflow, there's a bunch of them. They work really good, and you can scale quite a lot. But jumping into the third step, if you validated your idea and your tool is actually solving a problem and you start getting users and you start getting traffic, you will need to jump into code in some moment, because these tools are absolutely great, but they are made for validating ideas, or they are made for simple softwares, right? So for sure you will be able to create an Airbnb software, which is not an easy one. It's quite complex, in fact. But it would be quite hard for you to scale or make a company out of that no-code project, right? Because probably you will need to create some customizations. You will need to create really custom features. You will need to integrate the platform with your own software, your own internal software. So in that case, well, you will find the bottleneck. You will need to jump into code, and that's where going to tech teams like, of course, like Amalgama for sure, or software agencies, they are really worth, and it makes way more sense. But I want to put focus that the jump into code is after you validated that you have something in there. Most of startups or ideas fail in step number 2 in validating that their solution is solving a problem. Okay, so just to give you a quick example, Good Gigs, you can call it. It's a career platform. You can use it. You can create an account in there, and you will use it, and you will feel absolutely the sensation that it's a robust platform. It's impossible to say, it's really hard to say if this was coded and it's the most robust code, but because it works perfectly, you can check it. It's just one of the examples of what you can do. And the important thing is it's also really big. So there's a myth that big platforms, they are impossible to make big platforms with no code, and that's completely lie. You can create really big things. Of course, you will see also that the features, they are quite standard. You won't have like really complex or customized features. But for sure that these guys at Good Gigs, they were able to make the career platform. Why not? Also, this is an accounting management for freelancers, also made in, I think this one is made in Babel, and they get to charge their users. They have an integration with Stripe, which works perfectly. An e-learning platform where you can stream videos, and you will see that the performance is pretty good as well. And for sure they didn't spend hours and hours on how to optimize their videos. And here this is a little small video on how is the platform in where you have to work with. So for sure you will see that your first impression is that you don't have any code, which is great because it's not it doesn't scare you, which is great, and it's quite intuitive because you have a drag and drop interface, and you can search for components, and you can see what you're working on. Of course, again, this is Aralo. This is one of the complex no-code platforms. So just to give you an understanding, and just in case you're like scared of what you are looking at, but for sure this is way easier than going straight into coding, where you have to start from scratch and start wondering which kind of language is the best for what you're going to make. You have most of important things already made, like the sign-ups, like the integrations with the different social platforms. So if you want to sign up with Google, it's a drag and drop, and it's already, you will have that working on your platform. Okay, so going back to what can we do, I think this part is where you will take more advantage of, is how can we use no code in our running businesses. So if we have if we are not tech guys, we have no idea, we have no programmers in our team, well, there's a bunch of things that you can actually do. Again, you just go with the tech guy of the room, and that they will probably help you if you have no knowledge at all. So the first one is automating tasks. This one, well, you can take a lot of things here. So if you find yourself like doing repetitive things quite a lot of times, or you see your team that they are doing like the same kind of task all the time, you have tools like these, no-code tools like Make, Zapier, or MakerPad, where you will be able to automate these tasks just with a really easy user interface. The recommendations here is to, first of all, understand perfectly how is the process. So you don't jump straight into automate something that you haven't already done manually. But for example, if you see that every time that you have a conference call, after that you add that user email into a spreadsheet, and after that you have to synchronize it with some other tool, for sure you can automate that task. If every time you receive a I don't know, let's say that you have an application form in your website for people to join to your team, and every time they fill that form, you go and manually read the email and get to know if that is a potential good applicant for your company. You can do that, again, integrating that with an AI agent like ChatGPT, and then they get to decide if you want to add that in a table or not, and you can train the model as well. So if they make wrong decisions, you can tell them. But for sure, in a couple of months, you will have that model trained and saving you lots and lots of time of human hours, right? So yeah, the recommendation is to understand the process before actually automating it, and to pay the licenses because sometimes we have this custom of using the trials, but if we go and pay the actual price of these licenses, we'll have way more value and way more tools in order to not to limitate what we're doing. Then second, this is maybe what we were talking before, is how can we build internal software or validate an idea inside our own businesses. Again, the goal here is to understand if we try to understand. We have a problem, and then there's a solution that we want to create. We are not sure if this solution is in the market. We are not sure if someone else already made the solution. So the first step here is to go and check do some research if there's a solution available for us to solve this problem. Maybe if we find it, it's okay, perfect, just plug and play, and probably it will work. But then if we don't, or if we want to make some twist into a tool that is already working, we can go again to this kind of no-code platforms like Babel or Flutterflow, that they are kind of complex, but they are easy, and you don't need any programming skills, which that's the key point. And so here, for example, in Amalgama, in the agency, we saw that we needed an internal platform for our employees to have all those skills, and we wanted to add a career plan for them to understand how they are growing and doing some progress in the company. So we tried to look for software, we couldn't find one, and we started building one with a no-code platform. It took us a week to have an MVP and something ready to launch, that otherwise in code it would have taken us like at least 3-4 months for sure. And all the integrations and all the code quality that comes in these platforms, it's like a good thing. It's really easy with this kind of platform to avoid bugs, right? Because all the modules they're already made and tested. So if you want to put a search bar in there, if you want to put a feed with news, that will be like really, really straightforward, right? Most of designers also, I don't know how your teams are structured, but if you have some designers, they will find really easy to use this kind of tools because the interface is pretty much the same as in design softwares. So key tips here, well, as I told you, understand what you're trying to solve, and understand if there's anything else in the market that could solve the problem. But if not, go straight to implement these kind of solutions. And again, if you find out that in your company your solution is solving the problem but growing a lot, you can jump into code anytime, for sure. And you can always reuse the database, which is in some way you will have half of the problem solved. If you want to jump into code, you only have to change the front end or the UI if you want to keep that database. And if you want, in that case, that you are jumping into code, which is a really good, it's a really good thing because it means that you validated your product. You will understand way better how to create this robust code product. Okay, just to give you a couple of examples, couple of ideas on how do they look, these automations. Here it's an automation made with Make, that it's used to be called Integromat It's a really popular automation tool. This sample is pretty similar as the one we spoke about. When we receive an email, we can suggest which subject or which pattern we try to get from the emails. So when we receive an emails with those parameters, we want to add a row in the spreadsheet, and after that we want to process the attachments in case they have one. And if they have attachments, we want to post them into Facebook and also archive them into Dropbox. This is a really simple automation that could be made with Make. And even though this is not the interface, it looks pretty similar. You will find this one interesting. This tool is called Phantom Booster. It's used mainly to get leads. So you can get. We use it a lot to get software developers. Since we are a software agency, we needed them. We are quite strict on how to get them. So we searched it in LinkedIn, but it was impossible for us or not scalable for us to do it manually. So lots of people in the HR team, they were searching LinkedIn, and it was impossible to get all the good programmers out there. So we started using Phantom Booster, which lets you do searches with different parameters in LinkedIn and get them into a spreadsheet based on what you want. So let's say, for example, if you want someone with 5 years of experience in one skill, you will have that. You will be able to search for that, and this search you can automate how many times these searches runs on a day. So in our case, I think we set that to run daily. So we got all the fresh data in case it was updated or new candidates were shown in LinkedIn. So after that, we can also automate that to send an email for sure, or we can send a Calendly to set a meeting for sure. And again, with no coding at all, which is like the most remarkable thing here. These are in Phantom Booster, in this tool, they call phantoms the different integrations, but you can see some of the integrations they offer, which is quite surprising. I mean, the amount of things that you can do. I think there's more than 300 phantoms, so you have a really broad spectrum of things that you can do. So you can search, you can like things in different platforms and stuff, which is really useful. Well, this is one of the latest one. They just added the ChatGPT integration in Zapier, which is the tool that we mentioned before. Maybe most of you know Zapier, but just for a couple of things. We used here Zapier. A couple of years ago, we used Zapier just for the usual things, to trigger something when an email comes, but it's really powerful. So you have lots and lots of integrations in Zapier, and it's quite popular, which is great because they will release more integrations every time something new comes out. This is the ChatGPT is a great example, because with this new SAP, that's how they call the integrations, you can receive an email and you can create a draft based on the content of that email that it's ready for you to send. So every time you receive if you work in the commercial team, and every time you receive an email, I don't know, let's say asking for a budget or something, you can start the morning with your response already written and all the list of the drafts that you want to send or not, and you just get to review them and figure out if you want to send them. So it saves lots of time. Well, sorry, I'm trying to go straight forward so I don't take much of your time. This is how the kitchen looks in Zapier. So inside the tool, this is how it works. As you can see, you don't see any code at all, and you have just a couple of blocks that you put them together, or you can switch the order. It's a really intuitive interface. In fact, if you read that column, it's like you understand everything how it works. Is like you don't need technical skills for this. Just to get to know a bit of the tool. Yes, see, Shash.
Yeah. Does it work for Outlook as well? You just explained for ChatGPT plus Google integration. Does it work for Outlook as well?
Yeah, I'm not entirely sure. I guess it does, but you can easily go to the web page, to Zapier website, search for the subs. I think they are on the landing page. You search on the subs and you will find all the integrations they have. You're welcome.
Yeah, cheeky question. How do you avoid spam emails to be responded back? Because you don't want to check like 100 spam emails being responded as well, right? In automation.
Yeah, well, that's where you have like a learning curve, to like adjust the model exactly as you want it. Because at the beginning you will set some patterns, right? Like, for example, when I receive an email with this kind of subject or with that kind of content, but yeah, you will have to figure out how to avoid that and how to filter that, adjusting the parameters.
Thank you so much.
No, you're welcome. Well, maybe here like the last point is like, okay, we know, or we have a long road now on how to get into all these kind of tools and how to understand them better. But after that, when is the moment to jump into code? When is like these tools are not good enough, to satisfy what I'm trying to do? Well, the first thing that you will feel is that they are not made for scaling. So you will have like, if you do this and you don't receive 2 or 3 emails per day, you don't receive 1,000 emails per day. Well, in that case, Zapier wouldn't be good enough, because your data will be quite disorganized. So you will have to figure out how to make it organized again. In that case, it's good to jump into code, so you can have a custom solution for that. Or if you find out, for example, that it's impossible for you to avoid spam, well, in that case, and spam is a huge problem for you, well, in that case, it's good to create a custom solution for that. But you will understand perfectly what do you need, because you already tried it with this kind of tools. If you have, I don't know if how old your organizations are, but if you have like already made some custom software in your companies, it will be really hard to integrate them with no-code platforms. That depends, of course, in each company, but if you need to like keep building on legacy code, you will have to go and jump into code. If you want to build really, really custom software, like really custom features and something that it will probably only apply to you or to your business because of how it is, or how are the characteristics, you will have to go into code for sure. And the last one, it would be if you want to build something too innovative. Like nowadays we can say, if you want to build your own AI agent, well, nowadays we don't have a no-code tool for that. You will have to probably go straight into code. Or if you want to do something, I don't know, in a new trendy modern technology like VR, well, you won't find a good no-code solution for this. That's like the most common cases where you will have to go straight into code and, well, take the risks for sure, and take the time and patience for sure as well. Well, I think we don't have, sorry if I went too fast, but yeah, just to sum up, no code is just a tool. It's for everybody. Everybody can use it. It's really, really broad. So we have lots of different kind of tools. Always focus on the problem. That is, I think most of you already know that, but in software it's pretty common to get in love with your solution, not in the problem. Then understand your moment. Is this the moment that you want to do the huge investment and you can take 3 or 4 months to see the results, or you need to go straight into results and you need to validate right now? And always validate. Then you have to always validate manually before jumping into automations, and always validate your B2C solutions if you want to go into a market.